Instagram. How many of you is Instagram your favorite social channel besides Josh? Everyone? Oh, do you want me to be a clicker? Oh, sure, I'll be a clicker. All right, Instagram, everyone's favorite channel. So as of now, we have about 400 plus million people who use Instagram every day, and about 250 million people who use Instagram stories every day.
And I think that this information, I think this number is
that's gone up, I believe. And we have seen information where daily active users are spending between 24 and 32 minutes a day on Instagram. So who's watching Instagram stories? We have 63% millennials, 37% Gen Xers, and 25% baby boomers.
So again, I mean, for the boomers, that's still a pretty big amount, especially for the channel and who's watching stories, so something to keep in mind.
All right, Instagram stories. This is a lot of fun. With Instagram stories, we can create content that can be enhanced with playful tools, such as stickers, emojis, and GIFs. And it really allows you to share that real-time moments with your followers. And again, authenticity, it really gives you the power to be really authentic and have fun with your customers.
Who uses Instagram stories?
Awesome. So we've just seen information from Facebook that says 1/3 of the most viewed videos right now have come from businesses. And businesses, about 50% of businesses have shared an Instagram story within the last month. So if you haven't used Instagram stories yet, we really recommend kind of getting your feet wet with it.
But also, again, going back to strategy, making sure you have a plan for what you're sharing and making sure you're not just sharing. You're kind of creating a story within that Instagram component, so you have, you're using it as the way they say, Instagram story. Telling that story, adding multiple frames to kind of really get the point across, show a day in the life, etc. Would anybody want to share what they're typically sharing on Instagram stories? Okay, there were a lot of hands.
I post a lot of the food that I cook, like crock pot meals or kind of like meal prep or something.
That's a good one.
I share a lot of I share a lot of the food that I cook, like crock pot meals or like meal prep or some stuff like that.
Recipes, step-by-steps. Anyone use it for their hotel or attraction?
At the Island Inn on Sanibel, we've been using it to do like current time, so I'll go over there and do some videos of the pool or of the tennis courts and stuff like that, and I'll share them.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. So a few do's and don'ts before you get started with Instagram stories. Do share high quality imagery that kind of gives your audience that insider look. Also use location tags and hashtags, those stickers and GIFs, just to kind of make it a little bit more fun. And then really take advantage of the full screen and use vertical images. This is one of the very few platforms where your consumer, you have their full attention at this time. You're not competing with anybody else at this time, so it really is a great opportunity to use that full screen. And I think Mackenzie said it before sharing anything, kind of take a look at it and say, would I like to see this on my social channels? And then if you don't, please don't create content that's a little overproduced. It should still look very fun and authentic. And then again, you can use a hashtag, but don't use too many hashtags. If you use too many, then your content will start to look a little spammy. Don't put text too close to the frames or the outer part of your story. If you use it a lot, you'll notice that Instagram kind of overlays some stuff at the top and bottom. So if you are putting text or anything at the top and bottom, it could be cut off. And again, like I said, use those stickers and GIFs when appropriate, but don't overdo it.
You still want to make sure the image or video is
yes, it should still be the main
of your story.
All right, so Instagram's been kind of rolling out a few new features lately, and the first one is Instagram Story Highlights. Have you guys all seen this on somebody's page?
Does anybody use them?
Do you guys want to share how you use them or what highlights you have?
So the highlights I use are basically the things that I post on my Instagram story often. So things like some cute outfits, or I go to Disney very often, so I post pictures from there. And I work for a theater and go to theaters, so I post lots of pictures or videos of me going to different shows. And I made different stories or highlights on my Instagram profile and put little cover images too. So whenever I post something that's appropriate to put in one of those highlights, I just automatically put it there.
Awesome. Great. There was somebody else who wanted to share? No? No?
With the Art Center, we use like our yearly events like Taps and Tunes or Smoke on the Water, and we just continually add to those highlights each year, so you get this like sequential progress of those events and how they work. Our mission is something we put on there too, just so people can stay informed, and anything that we think correlates best with our mission will also be in that same highlight. So it's like the mission, then the mission exemplified.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, so Instagram Story Highlights, it allows you to really curate those permanent stories that live on your profile, and it lets you highlight everything from attraction highlights, special events, campaigns. We use it, or sorry, we'll begin using it for influencer highlights, special offers, and you can just really get creative with it. And as you were saying, things that you do often, it's really great for. And then the next one that just rolled out, I'm sure everyone has heard of, Instagram TV. Has anyone not heard of Instagram TV yet? No? All right. So if you are going to try to test Instagram TV, we do have a few best practices.
And before testing, we would recommend you just watching what's on the channel and seeing what's out there. It's in the top right-hand corner if you open Instagram. It looks like a little TV. If you don't see it, maybe upgrade your app or update your app, and it'll pop up. So we would recommend spending some time browsing through it first.
Yep. So go ahead and test horizontal and vertical videos, and then create content that you know is going to be engaging and resonate with your audience. And I know Mackenzie just went through a lot of social media insights, so really kind of use those insights to put together content that's going to get the most video views. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do those go away after 24 hours, or do they stay?
No, so these actually stay.
These stay.
Okay.
So,
Ask the question again.
yes.
Do the TV videos stay on your feed, or do they disappear?
They stay, so they're not in your feed, they're in the IGTV channel. So if you see, this is Seth Willingham. He was in Destination a few months ago. He has a very cool channel. He took some very amazing assets from the Destination that are on his feed. But his IG channel is one that we really like to watch. As you can see, he shows and highlights some pretty neat experiences because he's quite the adventurer. So swimming with sharks and paragliding in Switzerland. And again, you'll see that he has those multiple videos that he's uploaded that live forever, just kind of down here that you can slide through and watch. Once you click one, you can, this goes down, you can turn it over, and then you have that full screen immersive experience. But again, test vertical, test horizontal, both work on the platform.
Yep. And kind of like what you were asking, when you go to somebody who has an Instagram TV on their profile, it'll kind of live over by those highlights. So it'll say Instagram TV, you can click on that, and then these videos will pop up for you. And then really kind of utilize current video assets you already have and just kind of resize it for the platform. And kind of really focus on sharing those unique experiences that your destination has.
Any questions about the new Instagram features? Yes?
What kind of content would you highlight on this,
Yeah, so, do you want to go?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want me to say it?
Okay.
What kind of content would you use on IGTV versus like the stories versus your regular Instagram page?
Great question. So regular Instagram feed, those are those images that are really stunning, really high quality, really aspirational, UGC features if you have any of that. That's what goes on your feed. For stories, you want to show kind of those behind the scenes moments. Those are really quick stories, 5, 10, 15. I should know that, 5, 10, or 15-second clips if they are videos or images. So they're really fast moving. You're really kind of swiping through those with your thumb. IGTV goes up to,
So it's 10 seconds to 10 minutes.
Yes.
However, if you have a very large following or a verified account, if you're an influencer, they're allowing those channels to go up to an hour. So we've seen some fun things that like media sites have done where they do an entire newscast on Instagram stories, or I've even seen a channel who did an entire 30-minute workout through Instagram TV.
yeah, IGTV. So this is really if you have that longer form content that couldn't live on stories because, again, you're only able to upload maybe a 10-second video that aligns with the rest of the story that you're sharing. This is a longer form piece that if you had a cooking tutorial or, you know, an activity at the pool you wanted to share, you could share this and upload this, and it's up to 10 minutes long that you have that user engaged. Yes?
Just to comment on that, there's a guy from Cape Coral who is currently... Just to comment on IGTV, there's a guy from Cape Coral who is currently canoeing from the headwaters of the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico, raising money for Shelter Box, and I just looked on IGTV, and his video from one of the stops was the first one that came up. It's a great way to highlight something like that.
Yes, that's a great example. And again, any events, if you have an event, you want to kind of showcase what's happening and maybe, you know, a different act or a feature that you have, that's another great way to use that and highlight that and then kind of keep that ever living on your IGTV story platform. Yes?
Thanks. Is there a minimum number of followers in order to be able to create content for IGTV?
No.
Anyone can do it?
Yes.
I think I just did it, but I'm not sure.
We'll look after and see if you really did it. Excited to watch.
Any other questions? No? All right, Facebook targeting. So I know Mackenzie kind of went through this a little bit when we talked about co-ops. How many of you are currently running Facebook ads? Perfect. All right, so we're going to, so Facebook advertising, as we mentioned, is growing, and it's taking in about $1 of every $10 spent on advertising, and it is still projected next year to take over print in terms of spending. So we did just kind of want to talk a little bit today about custom audiences and how you can use those to target a really specific audience in your Facebook ads. So custom audiences are audiences that you can create and save. There are 4 main types that we'll kind of touch on today. So email lists, you can create a target audience using your email list, and we can upload it to Facebook, and your ads will be then shown to those users. Website visitors, we have the capability to go in and retarget users who have visited your website on Facebook.
If you have the Facebook pixel in place.
And then lookalike audiences are really great for brand awareness and kind of getting some extra reach. And we can create lookalike audiences from either your email list or your website visitors. And those are users who are very similar in action to your email list and your website visitors. And then we'll also kind of touch a little bit on core audiences, and this is just kind of interest-based targeting. So if you don't have the time or capabilities to do email or website targeting, you can still use these core audiences. Sorry. Oh, you're good. And so here's just a few examples of the 3 main core custom audiences that we use. So website retargeting, somebody is looking at possibly coming to the destination for vacation. They go to our website, and then we retarget them with this really pretty ad that shows the full scope of our destination. And then with the email database, these are people who are already interested in the destination and kind of want to know more about what's going on. So we'll target them with something like this, something a little more fun. And then lookalike audiences, again, these are audiences who may not have ever heard of our destination, but they're very similar to our current target and audience. So we could give them more of a brand awareness ad to get them interested.
Yeah, so then just to touch more on these, just like Megan said, highlighting those beaches, if we have people visiting pages learning more about our beaches on our site, with that pixel we're able to kind of add those into an audience, and we're able to retarget people who are interested in our beaches, who are interested in things to do, places to see on our site, with this messaging, just showcasing those different areas within the county. Email database, again, those people are familiar with us. They've more than likely been here. They kind of know a little bit more about us, so why not hit them with something like some safety turtle tips and some really fun content that they'll like to engage with, because again, they like us, they know us, they're familiar with us. This also, and who doesn't love turtles?
Always some of our best performing posts.
This also aligned with the email piece that went out around the same time. So that email showed safety tips for sea turtle season, I guess I should say. So that email highlighted those. And then we were able to kind of follow that email up with a video that people could see to kind of further reiterate that message and align those content efforts on different channels. And then Lookalike, again, our own biology campaign, that's really our brand awareness campaign that's introducing people to who we are. So we create lookalike audiences of people who have kind of those, that mirror the interests of those core audiences we've already created, mirror those interests to introduce kind of a new audience to who we are, what we do, and all of our fun little islandologies. Yeah. Oh, yes.
So are you saying that on your website retargeting ad, you have a separate ad depending on which page of the website they were on? So you have a beaches ad, you have a restaurant ad, or whatever your pages are?
Yes, you can do that. So for instance, this one was focused on the beaches, so that one was really tied to those pages that mention those beaches and that provide more information.
So that's what you're doing?
Beaches.
I mean, if he's doing a separate ad for whatever pages you designate.
Right, yep.
And kind of to your point, these audiences really let us get very specific with our messaging as well. All right, any other questions? I'm actually going to give you kind of like a little step-by-step on how to create custom audiences. So any questions before we move on to that? No? All right, so I'm actually going to go through this a little quickly because then I'll actually go into our business manager and show you how to kind of do this. So, I know Mackenzie talked a little bit about getting a business manager. That's step one. Within Business Manager, you'll see this little click down, the little 3 lines. You'll click down to that and click Tools. I don't think you can't see it there, but you click on Tools, and then within this list, you'll see Audiences. So, let's do it. There you go. So then you'll click on your Audiences. Once you click on that, you're actually taken to a new page where all of the audiences that you've created will live. And if you haven't created one before, it'll just kind of be blank. But on the left-hand side there, you'll just click Create Audience, and then you'll get a new pop-up. So we're going to walk through creating an email list. It's very, very simple. Literally all you do is click on Create Customer List, and then it'll pop up another little box. And the easiest thing to do is just add customers through an Excel sheet. I will say when you are doing this, the easiest thing to do is convert it to a CSV or a text file. And I recommend deleting, if you have a whole list that has people's names, emails, addresses, everything else, delete everything but those emails. It just makes it a little bit easier and cleaner when you're going through the process. And then you will upload your list right there. Kind of a new thing, just because of all the privacy issues, you will have to import or choose a drop-down right here where it says original data source, and that's just Facebook asking how you got those emails. And then just upload your file.
Do you want me to click Next, or do you want me to laser at it?
Laser. Okay. And again, remember, it's right here. Right? Yeah. Upload.
Do you want me to go next then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. We obviously didn't rehearse this section.
Sorry. So Facebook will take that information and they call it hashing. They'll hash all of that information and they'll basically connect your email followers to those followers on Facebook. And that's what's going on here in step 2 and 3 that you don't really see. And then you have your brand new email list file.
Did you ask you to create this audience size?
Well, that's for lookalikes.
Oh, okay.
So,
I get it.
Once you create your email list, again, you can create a lookalike audience from that email list. So you would just, at the bottom here, once it pops up, it'll say create a lookalike audience. And then this next square here will pop up. And you'll choose the audience size. The smaller the audience size you choose, the more like your current audience it is. So if you want a larger audience, you can get that audience, but it may not be as qualified as doing a smaller audience. We typically stay between 1% and 2% when we do this.
And as you can see, this is 258 uploads. That lookalike audience for the 1% is already 2.2 million, so that's a lot.
Good size.
So, you know, sticking there is a lot of millions of people, so you're probably not the most alike.
And then, again, once these are created, it'll show up in your audiences. So I'll go ahead and kind of walk you through what to do once you have an audience kind of set up. All right. So here is our Ads Manager page. This is what it'll look like after you start to create an ad. The only step you don't see here is us creating the campaign part of the ad. This is the ad set portion where you put in your targeting. So you'll scroll down here, and if you've already created a custom audience, here's where it will live. So you can see all of and you see my Bootcamp example there. You'll see all of the audiences that you've created, and you can click on one of those. Down here, oops, sorry. There we go, sorry about that. The interest-based targeting I was telling you about, you can put in here for detailed targeting. So for example, with Island Hopper coming up, we are getting ready to run a sweepstakes looking for singers and songwriters. So here is where we can put in, we can even start typing in examples, if I could spell. So once you start typing, examples will start to come up.
I would say also, here, do you want to go back to it?
Which one? This?
Yeah, or just type in singer again, or songwriter. So these are interests, and if you can see, you'll see that behavior to the right. Scroll down. I want to get to see if there's... okay, that's not giving us what we want, but that's okay.
But this is where we can put in... Maybe not. But anyway, here's where you can start putting in interests.
And then, if you don't know what you're really looking for, because we don't always,
No, you can browse.
you can browse. One, if you already put in that, Facebook will give you suggestions. Here's what I'm looking for. So this means that that's what they're interested in. They've done things to their interest. This job title, that means they've put in their bio, in their About Me, they have a job title that ties to a vocal artist or a musician. So again, those are people we might want to include in this targeting when we're looking for singer-songwriters to enter our Song and Chance contest. So you can look by interest, job titles, employers, fields of study, lots of different things. So these are the suggestions Facebook has given us just by typing in one keyword. So you can type in one keyword and then find different things on Facebook, or you can go to browse and you can see there's demographics, interests, and behaviors, kind of those three targeting. So you can look at education, their education level, their financial, you can kind of income or net worth, life events. So anniversaries, we have run a weddings campaign the past 2 years, so we look at, there's an audience in here of people who are recently engaged. Newly engaged, so we can do 1 year, 3 months, 6 months. You can also look at newlywed. So those are people who have changed their relationship status, I was going to say personal status, relationship status to engaged to blah, blah, blah. So those people are all grouped in an audience, and Facebook's serving ads to them based on this targeting. So if you've never looked in here, I'd suggest kind of browsing, seeing what's in there. Lots of different interests. You can do it by food and drink, shopping, sports, technology, fitness, everything. Behaviors, again, you can look at what they like, their purchase type, maybe they bought a vehicle new or they're leasing, whatever you're into. There's a lot just within this targeting that you can do without an email database or implementing a pixel. So if you've never looked, we'd encourage you to look.
Oh yeah, and so once we go in here, you can actually save this audience and rename it. So we could save this, obviously we would have more interest in here. We get a little bit more detailed in our targeting, but you could save it as Island Hopper Songfest. And then that way, the next time we go in to create an ad, it's already in there for us, and we don't have to go through all of the steps of finding those interest-based targeting options. So save.
Of course, there's an error, because it's that wasn't a real audience, but that's okay. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Keep on.
And then again, as I mentioned, when you click on Ads Manager here, then you could just go to Audiences. Oh, yeah, go ahead. And then all of your audiences will live within this library eventually. There we go. So you can see that I created that saved audience for Island Hopper Songfest. And then when I showed you that custom email example, for the Bootcamp example, it lives there.
So,
any questions?
do you want to go to, and so that's where you create that audience, that's where you do that custom audience or that lookalike. So those are those screenshots we showed you. Again, you can do a customer file, website traffic, engagement. So that's that other co-op targeting that was new this year. So creating an audience based on the people who have engaged with our content already. So this is where those are, and they're pretty self-explanatory once you go in there. I mean, they have additional information, they tell you what to do, and if you still are lost, take a blueprint course, and you'll be easily informed as to what your next step should be.
All right. Any questions about targeting or custom audiences, how to build a custom audience? Yeah.
Quick question. Anytime that you post on a regular, I can just yell out. All right. When you post on a regular basis or schedule your post, it always asks if you have a custom audience. So I know that we use our targeting when we're doing paid ads. But how often should you do that on just regular daily posts? Should you be constantly customizing your message for a particular audience, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think for a majority of posts, I would just keep untargeted. And make sure it goes to kind of everyone who's following you, especially if it's just kind of that inspirational messaging. If there is something that's specific, say there's an event happening in 2 days that we want to share something on our page, we might target that just to in-state residents or people who could easily drive to that within 2 days. I wouldn't have to book a flight, make a lot of travel plans, but could still try to make it. So for location or state-specific events or information, we'll target that just to the state or the location. So that's only popping up in the feeds of people who kind of reside within those areas. Outside of that, we do it sometimes.
For example, we've done it before where there was a new direct flight from a specific market, so we were able to post about that new direct flight and just target that market, so we weren't really spamming everyone else who wasn't there.
But yeah, for overall messaging, we keep that kind of just going out to all of our followers. But maybe we are talking more about weddings that might pertain more to women. It's always good to test. Maybe 1 week you share a post, a wedding's messaging, just target that to women. The next week maybe do it at the same time, same day, but keep it open to everyone and maybe see how those two performed, just to kind of for a little comparison. And see if it got more engagement because it was only going to an audience that was perhaps more interested in that versus not. But generally, yeah, that's just for testing purposes. But for organic posts, we keep it pretty open.
Any other questions? All right, and then we can go. All right. So co-op opportunities. I know we talked a little bit about this earlier this morning, but for those of you who aren't here, Mackenzie's going to kind of go over those again.
Yes. Okay, so Facebook slideshow ad, again, this is showing, creating or using those assets you guys have and creating a little short form video to use on Facebook. So this provides that ability to showcase your business in video format. We target this with that custom audience of our email database. So again, to those users who are already engaged, who already know a little bit about our destination, perhaps have visited a few times, targeting them with this messaging and just driving this to that interested audience that will then be more likely to click through to your website.
Oh, that's a little, I think I accidentally did that when we were
trying to see if this were a user row. That's what we call them. So this is launched from your guys' accounts and will live on that targeted audience's newsfeed. So it's coming from you guys. You do need to provide 3 to 5 high quality images in that 1:1 format if you can. And then we'll create that video for you guys. As I said, so this can be a dual placement. So with dual placement, we're opening this up to Instagram as well. So that ad will run on users' news feeds on the Facebook feed as well as the Instagram feed. Again, Facebook's doing all that work on the back end to see where that ad is performing best and serving it there and putting a little more money and resources to that platform just based on the data they've aggregated. And everything we're showing is that $500 buy-in, and we match that. So Facebook retargeting, again, we're using our pixel and targeting people who have visited certain pages on our site with your messaging. So these also come from your accounts. And say if a user visited an attraction page, we'll make sure that if you have an attraction placement or things to do page, things of that nature, we'll make sure that those are the targeting pages that your ad will be going to, just to kind of further drive that targeted audience or interested audience back to your website for click-throughs. Opening this up as well for that dual placement that we talked about. So again, if you don't want to run just on Facebook, you can do Facebook and Instagram, see how that ad is performing, and Facebook will serve that to that channel where people are interacting and engaging and clicking through most. Facebook and Instagram carousel ads. So this is the ad type that lives on our pages. So this is coming from the Beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel Facebook and Instagram page. Again, this will run on both. So it'll run through our accounts on Facebook and Instagram. And you will have one of these cards. So every business or attraction has one of these carousel cards with your own copy, your own imagery, your own link then through to your website. That is yours, and there will be multiple within that one carousel ad unit. This is a custom audience of people who have already engaged with the content that we as the Beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel are sharing on a daily basis. So Facebook aggregates that data, continues to update that with new people who are engaging with our content on a weekly, monthly basis, and retargeting those people with these ads that highlight your guys' businesses. Again, all these images must be approved by us. We reserve the right to change the image if we see fit, but typically we don't have a problem with that. And as you can see, we just like to include really high quality, really visually appealing imagery within these carousel cards as within all of our social media co-ops. And that is the end of our portion. It is 4 o'clock. I hope you guys have had fun, a little. Do you guys have any questions for me? Yes. Or us.
What about Constant Contact and MailChimp? I feel like every time I do it, I get people that unsubscribe, and so what's the limit? 1 per week, 1 per month? And why do it if you have Facebook?
Well, I'm sure if our ECRM team was here, they would provide you with much better answers than I could. I am no expert on email. So I could maybe, you could give me those questions again, maybe write them down, and I could share them with our ECRM friends at MMGY to give you a few answers. I don't know.
I don't know if there's a feeling in the room about, email.
Yeah. So we actually work very closely with the email team. Again, as you saw, we use a lot of the email leads, and then also vice versa, we give them email leads that we receive. And then I wouldn't necessarily say Facebook's better than email. At least for us. So I think it's a very integrated thing. At least that's how we manage email and social. We work very closely with the email team, but Mackenzie and I honestly don't know very much about sending emails.
We don't. But a lot of the content, like that turtle video example, again, a lot of the content that is shared in an e-news or an email that comes from the VCB, we're repurposing that content on social and updating that and optimizing that and making it social friendly in a way that's digestible on the platform. So we're sharing the same content, so we're ensuring we're reaching those who might not have opened the email or who might not have seen our Facebook post. We're making sure those messages align on a monthly basis in order to kind of provide that holistic picture and make sure people are seeing those pertinent messages that we want to share, regardless on where they might read it or digest it.
And obviously your cadence on email is going to be much different, right? You're not going to, if we're posting 4 times or 3 times a week on Facebook, you're not going to send out 3 or 4 emails a week. At least you shouldn't. Because then that's why people are going to be like, I've had enough of this. Right. So, once a month, and you can segment your audiences on email the same way that you can target your audiences on social media. Some of your email platforms will allow for that as well, but they really do work in tandem. You can put a lot more information in a single email than you can in a single social media post. That's a lot more snackable than, say, an e-newsletter that you might want to send out. But some of the principles are the same. You want to use some good visuals, maybe link to some videos, special offers, break it up and have fun with it.
And I think in terms of just general content, I know we've touched on this a few times, but we really want to focus on quality content versus quantity. So if you don't have a ton of information to put out, maybe yours is more bi-weekly or monthly. But really focusing on the quality of the messaging versus how often you need to get it out.
It's just expensive, $65 for one email than if you do one per month.
Everything's expensive. Courtney?
Hi, just adding a little bit to that, just because I work a lot on our email campaigns. I think it really depends too on what your goal is. Social media and emails are very different. So if you have 2,000 followers on Facebook, that's very different than your 2,000 people you're sending an email to. So, if you post a deal on your Facebook page, maybe 5 people out of your 2,000 followers see that. But when you're sending an email to 2,000 people, maybe 400 of those people open it, and you're sending information that you're directing to their website or directing to a specific place where you have a better chance of driving conversion. So I think it really depends because, if you're spending money behind your Facebook posts, obviously you're reaching people, but they're just very, very different. Your content, you can integrate it and have similar messaging and similar themes going on Facebook or social media versus email, but you kind of have to think about your goals and what people you're reaching. And it's also good to look into those analytics and see how are your emails performing, how many people are opening those and reading the content, and how is that driving people to do what you want to do versus how your social media is performing, and kind of weigh the benefits and costs. But it's very different. It's definitely a lot of test and learn, and we still do it too. We're not complete experts. We try our best, but it's just
You can use social media to encourage people to sign up for your emails. And you should have something on your website, because even though you're required to let them opt out and unsubscribe, you're going to lose some every time you send an email. You should have a system to generate new leads and new subscribers as well.
We spend quite a lot of money on Google and Bing pay-per-click ads. We tried a Facebook test, using Facebook ads, targeted Facebook ads, found that we didn't get nearly the response. Do you think we didn't try the trial long enough, or do you have some other thoughts on that?
How long did you run it for?
3 months.
What was your objective?
Get business.
When you set up your campaign, did you set it up for website clicks or
Yes.
engagement website
Yes.
clicks?
Yes.
Were you saying you weren't seeing the clicks, or you weren't seeing them not follow through on the site? Both?
Yes. I just wondered if we just didn't give it long enough.
And it also depends on the budget. We can talk after because I don't want you to share your budget. But yeah, we can talk a little bit after if you, and we can try to see what optimizations you could do for another test.
Okay, thank you.
I had another question. Where would we find information about what Facebook kind of dings your post on? For example, another thing that I had recently heard was that if you include an outside link to, say, some media coverage, they would prefer that you share the link that goes into their Facebook rather than to an actual outside website. Is there some sort of list or within that Facebook training area where we would find out all the things that kind of ding our posts to impede our reach and whatnot?
I don't think there's a list per se from Facebook. Facebook's kind of secretive on what their algorithms are, and they're really not going to share those with anyone.
It will share best practices for social creative, but like Mackenzie said, it won't tell you exactly how their algorithm is working. Plus, it changes.
Yes, and I think the most important thing is not what Facebook dings you for, but what your audience likes. I see so many things that are like, don't use this word and don't use this image. And I think a lot of those, again, are probably clickbait articles to read, and, people don't do their research. And it's less about what Facebook dings you for, and it's more about what your audience likes and doesn't like. Even if Facebook says that's something that, obviously some best practices are solid, but if your audience is really responding well to something, just keep doing that. I would look at how they're interacting with your content versus what Facebook would ding you for, if that makes sense.
It appears that our audience prefers to be linked directly to the article. So I guess my question should be more like a true or false. Is it true that you get dinged for including links outside of Facebook? Is that an actual thing?
I would say false.
Yeah.
You always want to direct people to where the most information is. We always direct people to our website to get people further kind of in that funnel. And that's the purpose of socials. We want to get them engaged, excited in our content. But we also want to make sure that, they are going to our site and learning more information and finding more information and kind of further following, getting a little farther down in the funnel and finding additional information that we couldn't provide within, 80 characters.
So I will say, I think I kind of mentioned this before, Facebook is really trying to get back to, again, being more authentic and seeing more friends and family things. They have started cutting down on media publications and fake media publications, so that might be some of what you're seeing, where they're really cutting down on that clickbait, spammy, links where you click on it and it's just spam. So that is being cracked down on a lot, but it has nothing really to do with what we're all trying to do. It's more of the fake stuff.
Yes.
So if you're starting a new social media page from scratch, what would you say your top 3 tips are for gaining your following on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter?
Money. It's sad to say, but, 7, 8 years ago, you could create new pages and people would follow you, people would like all of your stuff, people would really respond to that. Things weren't as cluttered. It was just a different space. Facebook is really pay to play now. If you're a brand page and not a personal page, they're automatically just going to ding you. Again, it differs on what you're trying to do. If you've already built that audience that really likes to connect with you, you have a better shot. But if you are starting from scratch, paid promotion is very helpful.
But if you're starting with an email database,
that's true.
right, you can create the audiences to match your email database
Right.
and reach out to them. I mean, if you're having to spend money, obviously spend money for people that have already engaged with you in other ways. If you're totally starting from scratch, I mean, a little does go a long way on social media relative to other types of media. So think of it in those terms, you know. I mean, ultimately, you're not buying print ads and radio spots and all those things that can drain your budget really, really quick. I mean, you can have a modest social media budget, and I would think see some good growth if you've got really, really good and relevant content. You know?
Yeah, there are no minimums on spend. Of course, the less you have to spend, you should shorten that time frame. Having, say, $10 and extending that for a month, that's not going to help you. $10 one post for that 24-hour period, that would be more beneficial than spreading that out for even a week. So just think of that also when you're looking at how much you have to spend. And when I say money, I don't mean like ads. I would really not do that. That provides no value to the user. Again, I start with that content strategy. I make sure you really have a grasp as to what you want to share, what you plan to share, and kind of how you see this channel growing and what you'd like to see it become. So I really start with that strong content strategy, but make sure you're putting money behind those posts and any other ads that you want to run outside of your organic content. But really putting it there so you are providing your targeted audience with additional information, with something that they see this, they like that. While liking the page is not our main objective for any ads we run, with every ad that does well and that is a high performing ad, we do see a lot of new page likes or new follows coming from those ads, because again, we're reaching people who don't currently like our page but are in kind of our target audience segment. They might not have heard of us, they might know who we are, know who our destination is, but not know, we have a Facebook page and an Instagram account. And so serving them this ad and showing, this imagery and this copy and, kind of making it fun, lighthearted, providing them more information, providing them with that inspiration, would incline them to say, hey, I kind of want to like this page, I want to learn more, I want to make sure I follow them and see more of this. I like what I'm seeing, I want to see more. So within Facebook ads, there's always a call to action to, follow the page. So we'd recommend putting the money behind those ads that serve a greater objective than just the like ads, because you will still see page growth with those kind of ads that are a little meatier than just like us.
On some Facebook pages, when I go there to organizations that are like us, or other pages, some pages pop up in the bottom right-hand corner, what looks like a chat box. Chat box. Where does that come from? I mean, can you force it to be there? Is it a setting? Is it a paid thing? What is that?
That's a setting within Facebook, so they aggregate those pages. Yeah, that's from Facebook. Maybe in settings you could turn it off.
I want to turn it on.
Oh, you can turn it on? Then definitely in settings you should be able to add that so viewers can see it.
Turn it on. It's in the settings?
I think it would be. And I don't know if you could show us what exactly you're talking about.
I'm wondering, is it the pages that your personal page follows?
It's like if you go to...
Or not your personal page, sorry.
If you go to, we can do it afterwards, but if you go to Des Moines Art Festival, it comes up on their page. It does not come up on ours. It doesn't matter if I go there as me or I go there as ArtFest page. Either way it comes up.
It could be the pages that they are following as their brand page. And if that's the case, all you need to do as your brand page is go in and like different pages.
Yeah, come up and show us at the
I can show you.
It only shows up when you do it on desktop, doesn't show up on mobile.
You can do it on my computer. I have my computer. just so we can give you an actual answer instead of guessing.
By the way, thank you. Very informative. Thank you
okay.
very much. We've learned a lot.
Thank you.
One thing that I didn't see here on your social platforms is geo-targeting. Could you speak about that?
Yeah.
Geo-target anything.
Yeah, anything. You can do organic posts and ads.
We can get down to the zip code for targeting.
The geo-marketing, I'm sorry. What I meant about that is like, for example, you can, if somebody is at an art fest in Sarasota, you can target them to get the ad of art fest. Is that what geo-targeting is?
Oh, so you're wanting to target people? Yeah, you can target ads within like a 5-mile radius of an address. So if you type in an address, or
So if I want to target plastic surgeons, whoever goes into a plastic surgery, I want them to receive my ad.
So
That's what we call geo.
Yes, you're correct. Again, you could type in different addresses and target within a 5-mile radius. So if you wanted, you couldn't do like any plastic surgeon, like you couldn't, that's not a targeting option. But you can make ads that then.
I was doing that. I did it on our social media platform, but I did it on our social media. We did that. We did target certain areas.
Yes.
And they were serving them, but I don't know how to do it is on our own, or is it something we have to hire? Like I did. I don't have a marketing company that's doing that over the summer now, but we did do geo-targeting. For example, the high rise.
Oh, so the marketing company did it, and you're just wondering how they did it?
Right. I'm just wondering because you didn't,
Yes.
because you talked about the rest that we did, but the geo-targeting wasn't mentioned there.
Okay, yes, you're saying.
It was back in that ad set I showed earlier with all of the targeting information.
Can you turn this off? Please. Sorry, I want to get to where we're going without you guys, without showing other information. I apologize. Nope, that's the page. Okay. You can bring us back.
Maybe just go to ad set and pull one up.
I was thinking create. Okay. Okay, so create. So here's where we left off. So why don't we start over. So here are all the options. Brand awareness, reach, traffic engagement. Let's say traffic if you're trying to get them to your site. This mouse is backwards.
I know, that's why I was having.
You can make a campaign name, blah, blah, blah. Press continue. So that is all right here within these locations. You can include, exclude, type in location. So county, states, regions, city, postal codes, addresses. So
Yeah, but this was not through Facebook. This was another type of social media platform. They were not doing it through Facebook.
okay, that was probably then a media buy.
Maybe geofencing?
Geofencing.
Geofencing.
I'm sorry, that's why I was actually, I'm not saying that terminology. Geofencing. is what I'm
Okay.
trying to talk about.
Yeah, that would be through a different tool.
Do you have any free social platforms that you know about for geofencing?
No, but you can get pretty close still with this Facebook, so let's just type in an address.
And MMGY.
Okay, yeah. I don't know where I'm going.
While they're doing that, I'll give you an example.
Is it 4464?
We can buy, there's companies out there that will allow you to geofence a certain area. Think of putting a boundary around an airport, and every arrival that comes into the airport within a certain time frame or what have you, through various apps on their phone can receive your ad. We geofence competitor beaches. We geofence airports. For our sales team, we geofence the entire conference showroom, show floor. so that we can not only market to those people and encourage them to visit our booth, but then we can remarket to them after the fact. So just be aware, presently, Elizabeth, are you still here? Geofencing is still pretty expensive, right? I mean, to be able to do that.
So is there a tool that you know of, an app that we could, even if it's economical, that we can sign up to, or?
We farm it out, MMG farms it out to a media vendor, and we set the parameters, and they do it for us, just like if we were to buy traditional media. I mean, it's definitely its own thing, and like I said, it's kind of on the expensive side.
Yeah. But you can get very targeted within Facebook.
So yeah, if you're looking right now, oh gosh, whoops, oh wow, this mouse is really tripping me up. So if you're looking, you're in your ad, you can do an audience or say, like, this is where MMG Global is. I typed in our address. It goes down to a 1 mile radius, so this is 1 mile outside of that location. So you're getting people within that 1 mile radius and only serving ads to those people within that radius. You can go up to 50 miles. It goes down to 1 from 50, that you can type in addresses.
Less than a mile.
It does not do less than a mile, but you can at least get down to that 1 mile radius through just Facebook advertising.
Could you scroll back up on that?
Yes.
Yeah, traffic,
Traffic.
Messenger.
That's Facebook Messenger?
I know, can you use it to target that radius and send a message through Facebook Messenger? Is that what that's saying?
No, so this would be instead of, so that call to action button can be a book now call. You can add a phone number to call on that button. There are a lot of different just call to action buttons. So the button for this, when you turn on Messenger, this would create like a contact us, and it'd allow that person to send you a message. But just due to privacy, you can't just send people messages within that through these ads, just because of Facebook's privacy settings and issues. Any other questions? Yes.
YouTube channels.
Yes.
Because that helps with the Google Analytics.
Mhm.
So how does that factor in with our Instagram and Facebook pages?
So YouTube, you really want to make sure that's where long-form content, kind of similar to IGTV, that's where that long-form content lives. That's of a really high quality. That's not just some quick snackable video. You want YouTube content to be at least a minute long, and something that really kind of tells a longer form story than any social channel that's kind of more quick paced and more snackable.
It's like IGTV?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We stopped doing Facebook ads just because we ran out of money, and we Boost because it's cheaper. Explain advantages, disadvantages of ads versus Boosts.
Yeah, so those are still ads. You are just promoting organic content versus creating an ad specifically for another objective. So with a boosted post or a promoted post, that objective is page engagement or post engagement. So you're just paying for people to engage with that post and interact and see that post and have that post show up in the news feed. So you're targeting people who are more inclined to like that, share that, comment, or just interact in general with that post, versus the ads that show up on users' news feeds that aren't on your channel, aren't organic posts. Those have different objectives than just engagement. So those could have a video views objective, a traffic objective, reach, an email lead gen campaign. So it's requesting people to sign up for your newsletter. So those have objectives outside of just on-channel engagement. Those are really driving people to complete another ask or inquiry or objective that we're setting for that campaign. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's still a strong strategy. If you don't have a lot of money, if your main goal for your social channels is just to continue that engagement and make sure people are engaging with your content and seeing the content you're sharing organically. And you do have a limited budget. Promoted post is a strong way to, or strong route to go, because a smaller budget will affect a promoted post more than a smaller budget going towards a traffic campaign or an email lead gen campaign, because those do require a little more effort or a little more budget to see those stronger results that you would anticipate. Any other questions? No? Okay.
All right, you guys did a great job. Great job. Thank you. So you're going to hang out a little bit and do some one-on-ones?
Yeah.
Depending on how many people want some Mackenzie and Megan time. If it's just a few people, you get a little longer, but if it's a bunch of us, then try to just keep it short so everybody gets a turn. Yeah? All right. You probably have to fire up your laptop if they have specific. Yep.
Instagram